we can dream, and it looks like we are off. So early half magic, that's got to point to us something from Uncle being able to use magic, don't you think?
Well, I don't necessarily like to think that the seed's leading me in a direction, but I will definitely agree that half magic is an excellent early item to have, especially if we do end up seeing a magic intensive item like Fire Rod here. It's gonna make it a lot easier to farm bombs during escape.
It looked like Teasy gave us a quick map check. We have 5 crystal up in Tower of Hera, and then the green pendant in its vanilla location over on Eastern, and we do have the Cane of Samaria.
Not the best weapon to farm with, but it uses so little magic. Unfortunately, it only does the fighter sword damage, so it takes a lot of hits on these guards. But the half magic is going to give them basically like 100 shots.
Yeah, there's a lot of shots that are going to happen that will make farming for bombs a little bit easier as we get through this escape portion. As we go through, that's kind of the only benefit at this point in time. The cane really doesn't give us a whole lot of direction in terms of where to go early game, and other than having half magic so we can throw fireballs at people's faces forever, nothing else is really good about this, huh?
Yeah, it's going to open up the later game dungeons. It's obviously a requirement to enter and complete those. There are a few places a little bit earlier in the game, like Skullwoods and Ice Palace, where it can help you, hit buttons and save a little bit of time. But it's generally not an item that you're going to pull out that often, and it doesn't make it an excellent weapon.
Not really, though. Although it looks like Benteezy maybe has a little bit more practice with the cane. Kostler not necessarily doing poorly by any stretch, but Teasy looks like he's practiced cane strats, and practice through this escape with various items will certainly help. But Kostler is going to make up some time. He got an early bomb drop, so he's not going to have to farm up anything from here on out.
That is an ideal bomb drop, and Ben's probably going to get it as well, because dropping off a green guard there at least tells you that it's in the prize pool on the guards. It can possibly not be in the prize pool at all, which is really catastrophic if you have to backtrack here. We might see mkosler continue to farm for a few more bombs. Heading into Kakariko with at least 2 saves you time from having to purchase them, but I also would not be surprised if he basically only kills the required enemies from here on out.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all either. See, here's another bomb drop from the guards, so let's hope Ben actually ends up killing some more guards as he's going through here, because help correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the guards and then the rats and ropes in the sewer are on 2 different sort of levels in terms of the prize packs. So if the guards are dropping bombs, that means that there's a less likelihood of the rats and ropes, I think. Can you help me out on that?
Well, I don't know if it's less likely per se, but I do believe they are in fact on a different prize pool, like you said. They could have 8 bomb packs. They could have they can have different items. As far as probability, it's randomizer, so you never really know until you kill a few hundred rats and then you do the math.
Let's not take some time to kill a few hundred rats with Cane of Samaria. Let's just avoid that.
Well, it's knowledge is valuable, and it's good to know the prize pool statistics. Ben might be giving up on the bomb hunt, just running past these green guards, not using the pot or the cane to take them out. Might just be committed at this point. Going to try the rats and the bats and the snakes, or do a backtrack.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. We'll see if he ends up farming any of these rats and ropes here in the sewer. He did kill a handful of guards and did not get a drop. I was wondering if, again, that randomizer knowledge there, it's like, oh, well, I haven't gotten one yet. I probably won't get it one. Yeah, he's trying to kill some rats that are easy on the way. We'll see if Benteezy can luck out and get a bomb. It's not looking good for him so far.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah, that definitely makes you feel better. The only way to get back to these back 3 chests is to complete the entire escape sequence, again, going through the sewers or to find the power glove. If the power glove is in one of these chests, it might be pretty long time before you come back here. So farming a bomb is very important, and I really swear it almost never happens that you don't find at least one.
Well, we can say it almost never happens, but it's absolutely happened, and it's made kind of the difference in a lot of races so far in this tournament, which is, uh, you hate to see a determining factor in the race start out within sub 6 minutes, but it absolutely has been the case where one person gets a bomb, there's a necessary item, and it just makes routing easier, and they never give up the lead from there.
Well, 10 arrows and a red boomerang is not the necessary progression, so it would not have been the worst case if either runner ended up missing this.
Nope, not at all. Worth noting that both Kostler and Ben now have at least a handful of rupees in case they need to go buy bombs. Here's kind of the decision point. Ben and Kostler are coming up to where they really don't have a whole lot of bombs. They're likely going to have to buy bombs in Kakariko, but they still want to get that 100 rupees for the bottle vendor here. So you gotta buy the bombs and hope you get the rupees after that.
Absolutely. I mean, coming back to check the bottle vendor versus coming back to check the chicken hut and Lion's hut in the well, that's a pretty easy choice. They still have opportunities to find bombs on the tree pools here, or on the crabs, so they're not entirely out of luck. And of course, like you said, they have the money. Ben showed us what the stun prize was by using his red boomerang, and that's a 5 rupees as our normal non-frozen stun prize, so no value there.
No, but Kostler does show us the tier 1 tree pole, and that's a big 20. Benteezy actually is going to get 2 chances at that tree pole because he's doing it out here, and then we'll do it once again once we get to the village, once he gets to the forest. Man, that's a nice tree pole there.
That's definitely nice. So the green rupees is the tier 1, which Ben just showed us. Oh, Moon Pearl. Nice.
So Kostler ended up pulling the Moon Pearl and the cape out of there.
Yeah, not a good sign.
Well, I mean, we already have one of our 3 Dark World access items. We have the Moon Pearl, so we still have plenty to go yet. But yeah, that cape is kind of, can we call it a warning flag?
It kind of makes me feel like we're going to be doing a check into Swamp's second chest to find the hammer. It's one of those omens.
Worth noting that both Kostler and Benteezy avoided the Lumberjack ledge, so we have no idea if it's going to be an Aga required seed, although that cape might make them think twice.
Yeah, you see a lot of different psychologies on that check. A lot of people like the information and will route it in. It's a fairly quick check, and other people, if they don't have the boots and they can't get the item, then they don't really bother checking it. So it's both really interesting schools of thought. I tend to like knowing the information.
I tend to do that as well. I've lost one too many seeds from just hunting around areas, and it didn't help. Kostler does find bombos on the bottle vendor. We'll have to now stop and go purchase some bombs. Maybe check out one more location here.
Well, fortunately, he picked up a rupee drop, so he was at least able to get both the bombs and the bottle vendor in one trip. So that's convenience there.
Absolutely. So here in the chicken hut, we have Benteezy. I think this is our first look in Chicken Hut, and it's just another piece of heart. Wow, not a whole lot in Kakariko. We haven't quite seen the well yet, but otherwise, not much going on here.
Yeah, that bombos is definitely not going to open up anything for quite a long time. The boomerangs make menuing a little easier, and of course show us what the stun prize is, but just being 5 rupees, that's not even a rupee farming opportunity.
But who needs a rupee farming opportunity when you get, a big 300 just right there and quite a few other rupees And we also picked up a bottle in the well, so gonna be able to route Sick Kid in here as well. And there's our
Wow.
Dark World access.
2 gloves and 2 bottles. I guess they're trying to tell you something here. Go to Sick Kid and go to Dark World.
So what do you do here? Do you just go to Dark World like right away, or do you still go down and do the south route, go mini Moldorm Cave, or do you take the gamble and follow the seed right now?
With 4 hearts in green mail and no weapon other than the cane, I think you're better off just continuing to explore the standard South Shore route, pick up some of the easy to access items while you can. Dark World is just too dangerous and too little progression at this point, I think. That'll change if they get a sword or a fire rod or a mirror. But I think it's a little bit too early.
That is a fair presumption to make, and I appreciate you making that. And it is also boring, so I will choose to ignore it. And both Kostler and Benteezy are also going to ignore it. Whoa!
Well, I do have a history of not getting my calls particularly right. So we see our red crystal in Thieves Town. That makes that appealing early on. Thieves Town is actually completable with the King of Samaria. They'll be able to get at least 3 items in that dungeon. Might make it worth checking.
Yeah, maximum 4 located in there, but we can't quite get the big treasure chest if it's locked behind it. It may not necessarily be locked behind the hammer, although depending on the key item location, we can get some intel on what's locked behind hammer and things of that nature. But
we're seeing right here the kind of play that you see in the 4-0 stage that you just don't see in the 0-4 stage. You know, the early Dark World play at 10 minutes in.
I tend to agree. I really tend to agree. It's absolutely hyped to see this early of a Dark World play. Benteezy looks like he took a death. I don't know if he intended a death warp and forgot he had a fairy, but it's there. It's worth noting that Benteezy, I believe, I think it was Benteezy who found the flippers.
He did find the flippers. Yeah, I was just trying to think. Like, I swear he found something, and I was trying to remember what it was. Thank you, Vitasia.
Yeah, someone found the flippers, and I was like, wait, what's going on here? Oh, Kostler got the flippers. Okay, so Kostler got the flippers in C-shaped house. Benteezy, I think, just got a whole lot of nothing in Skullwoods so far.
Yeah, he's gone as far as he can in Skullwoods, picking up the big key there. Probably check the big chest on his way out. Most likely then we'll head down to Village of Outcasts to do his own Thieves Town area checks.
He's got to be careful here. He's getting ready to bomb himself right into some mini Moldorms. And he just gets rewarded with the key.
Well, this might be the earliest Frog World Tour that I have ever seen at 13 minutes.
It's pretty early. 13-minute Froggy World Tour, no mirrors, so you can't necessarily make this more efficient or maximize the efficiency. But man, if you had the mirror right now, this would be amazing. Still going to be able to do Jeremiah, be able to check Stumpy up here. Rewarded with an Ether Medallion. We'll see what Hype Cave is going to hold for us. So chat, get your guesses in. What are we going to see for Hype Cave? Or is it going to be hype? Is it going to be dud? Money, love? Choose your adventure here.
Get Ben showing us our first look at the Bumper Cave item being a full heart. Has the ability to access that, but not going to go through all the trouble.
At least not yet. Although, I mean, he's got 5 hearts.
Yeah, he has died a couple of times already, but I think, you know, that 1 heart isn't going to make a difference. Dark World damage, it's just so high, you either live through it or it kills you.
All right, heart container, bombs, heart piece, blue mail, and 50 rupees. Okay, so 4 and 10 hype. I mean, the health and the blue mail, I think, are worth the most there.
I definitely think that's value. At 6 hearts, they've effectively doubled their health to, what would have been 12 with green mail. So that very nice to have this early in the game.
Yeah, it's hard to sniff your nose at that particular proposition at this point in time. Meanwhile, Kostler is showing Jeremiah some parts of the world that probably he hasn't seen before. We're going to go take a visit to the dam and maybe mini Moldorm Cave.
Yeah, and he also has enough money and the flippers that he can do the dam, mini Moldorm Cave, either and then directly head into the Zora area, or do Ice Rod Cave and then Zora.
Yeah, so Jeremiah is seeing parts of the world he never thought he'd see, and probably wishes he wouldn't have to see. Because he can only really doggy paddle. He's not that great at real swimming.
Find the mushroom in Thieves Town there. That's a very interesting item to find when you have the Cane of Samaria this early in the game, and the mirror as well. Wow.
Oh, that mirror. So 2 of our 4 items in Thieves Town already found. That's going to make Benteezy's routing of that South Dark World route so much cleaner. He's going to be able to just do everything in one swoop. I can't say how big that is for Benteezy and his routing right there.
Absolutely. He'll be able to turn the blacksmith in and do the Purple Chest World Tour if he wants to, using that mirror, and also get the K45 check that mkosler was forced to skip. Kostler might be kicking himself once he finds how easy that mirror was to pick up.
All right, so Mini Moldorm is at least our first sword, and more hearts and more bombs. So, first sword, okay, I'll take it.
So what I was talking about, and Ben picked up the mirror, so we had to stop for mirror hype. But I was asking your opinion on the mushroom there. When you have the red cane this early in the game, do you save it and do a magic bat mushroom glitch, or do you go ahead and turn it in?
Well, with the items that we already got, I mean, the mushroom, the fake powder glitch is literally right here. So, given Benteezy's situation and picking up the mushroom and the powder and the mushroom and the mirror right there, he can go ahead and do it just right away. I see no reason not to do that powder glitch. It may not have anything, but it could have something, and that's really all rando checks are, is maybe it's something.
The little blacksmith guy got introduced to the hobo. It could have been him in another life, I feel. Yeah, unfortunately, without the hammer, you lose your Dark World portal when you do that magic bat check. So it's, is it worth losing it? Then you have to go all the way back up and re-enter Dark World. It can be a gamble.
It might be a gamble, but, everything's a gamble. Live a little bit. These guys have already made some pretty great gambles as far as I'm concerned. Going immediately from Kakariko Village to straight over to a Village of Outcast is just a little bit crazy, I think, for those of us who are sitting at the 1 and 3 stage, myself.
Even at the 3-1 stage, I don't think this would be the most common play. And you're right, to see both players make the exact same play, it caught both of us off guard.
A little bit, yeah, but so Jeremiah is definitely going around he's getting his monthly steps in. Let's say he's got put on an exercise program. You have to get this 10,000 steps, Jeremiah. Be put on a diet.
Oh, he's almost done. We have the boots. Oh, amazing. So the flippers led to the boots, and the flippers were in the Dark World.
And unfortunately, Jeremiah said, thanks for the bit of exercise. Here's 300 roops. I know you don't necessarily need it, but it'll help.
Well, with mkosler turning in his Zora check at this point, he is definitely going to be down to the point where those 300 rupees are going to make a difference. He'll have just enough to get in the pod, but nothing to buy a potion.
Teasy looks like he's just taking a little bit of time, realizing, oh yeah, I should go ahead and do this this wonderful purple chest check, which is fine. I mean, he's still going to have a pretty good check here. Kostler is even going to be doing Balkrux and King's Tomb. Man, this is... I think Kostler has actually had Jeremiah longer than he's not had Jeremiah at this point in time.
I think you might be right on that, or it's been pretty close. Jeremiah has been down to Ice Ride Cave, to the visit to Hobo, to Zora, in 2 different dimensions. He's got quite a world tour going. And the little guy's keeping up.
I just hear like Tim Curry in the back of my head singing in the little guy's voice, "I'm going home." Any Rocky Horror fans? No? Okay, that's fine.
It's one of those movies that's been on my, like, I've got to watch this for my nerd cred, but it's been on the list for like 20 years and I never got around to it.
Okay, you have homework now.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Kostler tries to check what's on Lumberjack Ledge, but doesn't realize that the hobo will follow you anywhere in the world, but not there. Stranger danger there.
Yeah, he will. Silver's in the purple chest. That's nice to have. So the blacksmith will follow you into any cave that has only a single entrance, and the lumberjack cave has 2. So he will not go in there, and he will not go in the dungeons. He's a skittish little gnome, and he likes to know his way out.
I think that's fair. That's a fair thing to say.
Well, exactly. I mean, if I took him into a Trinex fight, I'd be like, go distract the ice head.
Make sure it's pointed that way. So Benteezy about to be disappointed with Hype Cave. Well, not so disappointed. I mean, it's survivability at this point in time. Really, the major... Oh, he's going up here to do Mini Moldorm, and then he's going to go back up to do Hype Cave.
Yeah, he might want his portal down here so he can route in the Hylia item, the island item later, because he doesn't know what that is yet. So just in case it's valuable, keep the portal down here. With both Turtle Rock and Misery Mire being crystal dungeons, it's very nice for both our runners to have 2 of the 3 medallions this early on. Makes those much more probable we're going to see those done early.
So Kostler is heading back into the Dark World. We'll see where his decisions... Okay, now he's going up to Skullwoods, which I don't believe Teasy found much of anything there, but it's actually some checks you want to get done pretty quickly. So I like the play. It's just the only difference between these 2 is the dungeons that Teasy has dipped, and it's given him quite a bit of an advantage in terms of being able to check some of these overworld locations with that mirror.
Yeah, the mirror is definitely required in this particular seed, with Swamp Palace and Ice Palace both being crystals. So it was going to show up sooner or later, but finding that as early as Ben did, it just you can see how much more efficient it makes the Dark Light World routing. He's able to pair up all of these locations that would otherwise be separate trips.
So if you're these runners, where do you go next? What's the location that we haven't checked yet that you go to?
Well, that is a tough one, just because they have so much open to them. Give me a minute on this one.
No, I mean it's really an interesting question, because even though we have Titansmiths, we don't have things like the hammer and the bow and things that make clearing the dungeons so much easier. You know, technically we can take a dip into Ice Palace if we really want to, but I think no one really wants to make that check.
Yeah, it's, you can't do any of the Eastern Death Mountain, light or dark, because they don't have the hookshot or hammer. Both ice and swamp are big gambles without the hammer. They can't. I mean, they could do Hera. I mean, we're talking sequence breaking the dark room, but that's not an issue. Pod Easter are actually decent plays, even though they're both pendants. I think item wise, Pod Eastern and then the Sash area, which it looks like where Ben's headed, has the most item density that they can get to at the moment.
Yeah, that feels like the right play at this point in time. I'm a little bit interested because the TZ just kind of dipped Pod. He didn't he didn't full clear it, which is certainly within logic to be able to do so. So I'd be interested to see what happens with Kostler over here. Does he end up full clearing Thieves Town, and is there something further down in there?
Absolutely is a valid argument. I think that you find two major progression items and not the hammer. It's not that big a deal to get back to later on. Checking the first four and bailing is definitely not unreasonable. We find the powder over there in Sasha's Sut. That's gonna let Ben turn his mushroom in if he decides to do a witch catfish Zora link up following these Pod Eastern plays.
Yeah, it just really feels like at this point in time there's no good plays. I mean, Eastern and Pod are both pendants. Thieves, you don't have the hammer. Hera, we don't have a fire source yet, so it's entirely possible that we'll be fire locked out of there, and you're climbing all the way up to Hera for that. This is what is the least worst option, I think.
Yeah, if you find the hook shot, then I think you're heading right up the Death Mountain and getting those 20 plus chests that you can access. If you get the hammer, then Swamp and Ice are both decent options. Even without the hook shot, I think dipping in Swamp isn't a terrible play. But they're just with what they have at the moment. I think Ben's exactly where he has to be.
Now Ben is slowly losing time because those boots are really making quite a bit of difference for Kostler here. We see Ben doing the brand new, I guess it's not totally brand new anymore, bottle glitch, letting you get through this early portion of the bow-locked right side of Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can call any glitch in a 30-year-old game brand new, but newly discovered, absolutely. Or at least more commonplace. I never, ever saw that in the fall tournament, but it's a common thing you see now in this spring standard mode.
I think part of it was that when we saw it we didn't see it too much in the fall because it hadn't been officially cleared yet until just before this spring tournament. So even though it only sequence breaks one item and it doesn't allow you to completely ignore an item for the entire dungeon, just kind of the requirements for what is and isn't a minor sequence break or a minor glitch, the admins officially cleared it just before this spring tournament.
I'm glad they did, and I'm glad that we're seeing it get used. Without having the bow, it lets you access every single item location in the Palace of Darkness except for Helmasaur himself, being both bow and hammer locked. So for a pendant dungeon like this, it's a great use of that trick. You can walk out of here knowing that you got all the items or all but one of the items. which is a pretty safe position to be in for most pendants.
Kostler expressing his frustration with a quick sword slash. He did pick up the small key, so it's possible that one of our items is going to be in that big treasure chest.
Yeah, I haven't been counting the Thieves Town items. I don't know if he's up to 3 or if he's still at 2.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I have not been counting as well. I want to say there was 2 in the front, and then this, I mean, he'll be on 3. I mean, the odds are he's on 3 right now, but...
Picking up the bombs, if that's the 4th item, then that's great. He's done Thieves Town, but without an inventory check, see if he has both the map and the compass. I really can't tell. Ben doing the Dark Palace of Darkness maze. Not super fun to do, but at least with the Master Sword, it makes the navigation easier. This is one of those things that you're going to see a lot of new runners skip, or at least do very slowly. But at the 4-0 stage, they have these rooms completely memorized.
Absolutely. And Kostler is actually, you saw him drain his entire magic. He is going to be doing this glitch here shortly.
Yeah, this glitch is actually not necessary because we know that the magic powder is in logic, being in Sasha's hut at this point. But it will save him having the backtrack, and losing the magic isn't really that big a deal at this point. And just finds 5 arrow upgrade.
Yep. So Teezy hasn't necessarily found anything before the dark rooms here in Pod. He still has Eastern to check to see if it's going to be one of those items. Kostler is going to do some of this other kind of overworld cleanup, but Pod wasn't the check. Eastern, we still have Hera. That's a possibility as well. Maybe a really poor decision. Ice Palace dip, maybe.
Yeah, Hera's a difficult call gamble, like you said. Without a fire source, if the big key is in the basement, then they're not going to progress past the first chest. It's also not in logic without the flute or the lamp. So both of those makes it, less likely to have the immediate progression that they're looking for. Ice and swamp, as frustrating as it is to go in there without the hammer, could actually be more probable places to have it.
We see another check over here. Kostler is going to be checking Agina's cave, which is in logic. We also have to keep in mind other out-of-the-way locations, such as the pyramid and Catfish as well. We haven't really taken a peek at those locations either.
Yeah, Gina's a tough one to route in if you're not doing anything else in the desert area, and just finding a single arrow is a disappointing trip.
That single arrow is just one of those things that really just adds insult to injury. Really.
At least the single arrow is unique in the game. The single rupee, there's 2 of those. The single arrow has something going for it.
I am uniquely giving you the proverbial middle finger.
Absolutely, it's a one-of-a-kind insult. So, having done the powder glitch, mkosler is very comfortable turning his mushroom, and now we're going to get that item check and find that it is just another big 20.
And Eastern doesn't look like it's had anything for us either. My goodness, what? I mean, Catfish and Pyramid, or dipping into ice. But those are our options right now.
Yeah, logically, that's all that's open dungeon-wise. I think, we've seen most of the overworld across both of these runners, even though both runners are still missing several spots that the other one has done.
The good news is because Benteezy has not actually been up to the Zora area, means we might see him have an increased likelihood of going up to check that catfish area and then mirror over to do Zora and that ledge. It's possible, and the fact that he's not saving and quitting right now tells me he's going somewhere at least close.
That definitely makes sense. He's able to check the pyramid at this point. He has the mirror, so he can turn his mushroom in at the witch, get catfish, and then Zora. So that's 7 locations that he can check, many of which are out of the way. So really efficient way to route that in. It'd be a lot more efficient with the boots, but he'll pick up those soon enough.
It looks like he's going to go ahead and check this location while he's here.
This is one of my favorite ways to route in the hobo. It's you don't see it too often, given where you have to be and what you need to have. But when you can do it, it's such a great time saver.
Absolutely. I think oftentimes if you get the early flippers, a lot of runners feel forced to check those flipper lock locations relatively early just because that might be our next breadcrumb.
And that's absolutely true in this case. We know that the boots were flipper locked, and the boots, they didn't open up progression so far, but we've yet to see what's in Desert Palace, and ultimately they may be needed for the Lumberjack Cave item or the Ganon's Tower Big Key. Even if none of that is needed, they're a lot more fun to play with.
Just a big 20 on the pyramid, so catfish, help me, Obi-Wan Catfish Obi, you're my only hope.
Yeah, we've seen the 4 Zora items. We haven't seen catfish. Of course, we're getting our first graveyard ledge item over here. And just 10 hours. He did go through and check the Bonk Rocks and King's Tomb in the light world, but this is the first time we saw the dark world version of this northern area. So that, I believe, is all of the overworld available to them that we've seen, combining what we know of both runners, save for the catfish.
Absolutely. Looks like they're going to be just about meeting up in that area, it feels like.
Yeah, both of them picking alternate ways to get up here, but both choosing very efficient ways to route in an inefficient location. So, excellent routing knowledge we're seeing here, which is, like I said this before, but it's a 4-0 race, and this is what you expect at this point.
All right, so Kostler is the first one to catfish. If you don't give us something good, I'm frying you up for dinner. No,
and that may lead Kostler into doing both Pod and Eastern as well, which would catch up quite a bit of time savings for Ben. Those locations were complete duds.
So, where? I mean, the only thing I can think of right now, we've done Eastern and Pod. We can't get to Desert Palace yet. Tower of Hera is technically a sequence break. Swamp Palace, I mean, we get 1 treasure chest access to it. Skull Woods we've already done as best we can. Thieves Town we've cleared out. Mire and Turtle Rock are still blocked to us. Is Ice Palace really our only play?
I think in this situation, the sequence break, the Death Mountain, might actually be pretty good to do. You'll get the Old Man item and both Spectacle Rock Cave and Spectacle Rock. So there's 3 items you'll get there, and then maybe up to 2 in Tower of Hera, depending on big key placement. If the Hammer or the Hookshot is up there, that's going to let you progress further. It is a sequence break, but I think it's more favorable then going into Swamp where you can get one item that without the hammer, and Ice where you can get one or two.
All I know is congratulations, you guys are 4-0. This is how Randomizer treats you. Hats off to you.
Well, fortunately for Ben, mkosler is going and doing the same pod, and most likely Eastern area checks. So that's a lot of time that Ben lost that mkosler will also be losing, following in each other's footsteps here. This almost goes without saying, but absolutely, I posted the links there in Twitch chat. Just check both of these runners' channels. Their execution here is just amazing, and their routing is incredibly efficient.
We did see Benteezy just check the lumberjack ledge, double checking, so my progression isn't here. I mean, we don't have the lamp, so Aga's still not in logic either.
Yeah, I think that was our first lumberjack check. I don't know if we saw one from mkosler. I did notice that the Master Sword was here in pod, so it wasn't entirely a wasted trip. I didn't pick that up initially, but that's where Ben got it. So looks like Ben is making that Dark Mountain sequence break play, knowing that he's going to at least get 3 items and activate the third save point up here. So when he does come back here, he'll at least be able to come immediately back here following a save and quit. That also by itself is very convenient to have.
Oh, it's very nice, particularly when you have the flute, because it's the shortest walk, plus you get your heart refills right away. It's very nice.
So maybe we'll just see a hammer sitting up here on Spectacle Rock.
We can only dream.
I'm sure the runners were hoping for a hammer up there, but we see a bow!
I mean, that's nice.
Yeah, not so much in this particular seed.
I was gonna say, Eastern and Pod, the 2 dungeons that require the bow, are both pendants.
Yeah, and they're pendants that Ben has essentially full cleared already. So, and both players are essentially full clearing. So, going back there just for the pendants, I don't know. I mean, I don't expect to see that, but it's a nice item to find at least. It will eventually be needed.
So here we go, Benteezy, last chest, and we're fire locked in Tower of Hera. So this entire trip is worthless. I think Ben's gonna go ahead and pick up his bow since he's up here. I mean, might as well.
Yeah, if you're gonna save and quit, this is a great place to do it from, rather than having to walk out of this cave. So, routing it in this way is really efficient. The bow, it doesn't really open anything up though. That's why I like to get the bow at Uncle as my weapon, because it opens up so little and blocks so little. It can be almost anywhere in the game, and it's usually a lot harder to find than it was in this particular seed.
All right, so Benteezy looks like he might be heading over. We still don't have the hammer, so we only have 1 portal to the Dark World is really our access at this point in time.
Yeah, probably gonna at least do the full clear of Thieves Town. It's that's a crystal that mkosler does have, not marked on his tracker, but he did complete Thieves Town.
Yeah, and getting to those back 4 is generally pretty quick. I mean, we still don't have the hammer, so Benteezy is really just kind of, Benteezy and mkosler are just kind of going over each other's steps at this point in time. The real play is who does something new. Teezy has gone up to Turtle Tower of Hera, gotten the bow. It is a sequence break. We got to think that mkosler will end up heading up there eventually when maybe it isn't a sequence break. But he may still end up going up there after nothing is here. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good place to go. There was, there were 3 items and the possibility of a lot more. The lamp. You could find the lamp in Ice Palace, and then the hook shot in Spectacle Rock, and then that would have put everything in Spectacle Rock back in a sequence. So it definitely was not a wasted time savings, and they picked up the checkpoint there either way.
I think the one thing we can agree on at this point in time is this seed is being very rude to these guys. It's insisting that we do a hammerless either Ice Palace or Swamp Palace dip. That's just mean.
Well, I just saw on Ben's side, the upstairs of Thieves Town was 50 rupees, and we saw there was an item on blind. So that might mean that there's just a map or compass in the chest.
Yeah, I think that does mean a map or compass because we found the mirror and
mirror
mushroom.
Something in the first 2.
Yeah, so we're good. We're good here.
Well, that's very good news that they're not going to have to backtrack here. Leaving an item behind in Thieves Town is one of the worst feelings that you can have.
Yeah, it just takes so long to get down here, so anything you can do to avoid that is appreciated.
So yeah, I know.
Like, what do we? I mean, okay. So, chat, get your guesses in. Where's our progression? Where would you go? Would you go Ice Palace or would you go Swamp? Ice Palace probably has a couple more item locations you can check. Swamp Palace is the faster check-ish. I mean, you can get to your treasure chest faster. Get your guesses in though, because this is for bragging rights. Who's right? Who's wrong?
Well, I'm gonna go with Ice Palace. There are more locations that you can check. Like you said, Swamp dead ends you pretty fast. I'm gonna say Ice, but neither is ideal. There is no great place showing you where to go next.
No, and I think that's the worst feeling for both of these runners is that they both know nothing they could possibly do is a good check, which might be a good sign because when you're at this particular level and you're wondering where the heck is everything, knowing that both you and your opponent are both struggling might be a blessing in disguise.
Maybe the finding the bow where it was in one of the locations that is a very easy place for these runners to sequence break. I mean, they got the mids 7 minutes in, so they could have picked up the bow prior to heading into Pod and Eastern. Eastern being a green pendant, I don't know what the item counts were, but there might be something on Armos and Helmasaur. They may feel that if their opponent picked up that bow and got those items, or at a minimum saved the backtrack, that could mean something. Pod is hammer locked, but they could have gotten the green pendant in Eastern at least.
Yeah, that green pendant in Eastern kind of looms large. Still, I mean, we know the bow is locked behind a lamp, and we know that the boss is locked behind a lamp. So the lamp's got to be out there somewhere. I feel like the lamp seems to be our progression at this point.
That's a good point too. Everything that they would have gotten in Pod and Eastern would have been sequence breaks, all lamp locked. So you're not going to find the hammer there unless you find the lamp in a place like Ice. So Ice or Swamp, they might not have the hammer, but they could have the lamp, and then you could find the hammer on Armos if he still has an item, or the green pendant.
here we see Kostler doing his sequence break up to Death Mountain. I mean, again, I think it's a logical play, as you said. He'll get his bow, and we'll see if he ends up diving back into Eastern for that green pendant. Meanwhile, Teezy's doing Agina. He hasn't done Agina yet.
This will be a quick check. Unfortunately, without the hammer, which you already pointed out, he's going to have to go all the way back to Kakariko, even to go to Swamp or Ice.
Yeah, just no good options, regardless. Not fun at any rate.
Yeah, this just doesn't make sense. I mean, there's no, there's really no clear indication of where to go. Everything is locked. I think at this point there has to be something in one of the first ice or swamp chests. And it probably has to be a lamp.
Yeah, it probably has to be a lamp, or it could be a few different things. I mean, lamp most likely, because that would unlock our access to Eastern Palace to be able to go ahead and clear that. Oh my goodness. Teezy, have we had an ice run cave check yet?
We have from mkosler. This will be Ben's first trip up here. Both Kostler and the dwarf have been the Ice Rock Cave.
That's right. This was one of the frosty locations that Jeremiah had not been to.
And we are done on Tower of Hair for now.
Right as Benteezy gets that ice run. I mean, these two have done amazing routing choices up to this point in time. Just where do you go at this point?
Well, ice makes sense because you actually don't have to walk here from Kakariko. You can't walk here from Kakariko. You have to go in from here. So yes, this makes sense. Swamp, you have to walk here from Kakariko.
Yeah. So Teezy's making the call. He goes, I'm gonna have to bite the bullet here. Do Ice Palace. I think Kostler is heading over in that direction as well.
Yeah, looks like that. I mean, they got Bombos really early. That was their first medallion. So they've had access to Ice Palace for the past 40 minutes. That's another one of those. We saw them go into the northern Dark World area. 10 minutes in, but this is also an area that they've had logical access to for essentially the entire game. So when they inevitably find something here, I hope, are they wondering, am I the last person to go here?
Oh no!
Oh my gosh! That is not what you want to see.
So Tiru, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you want to do a fetch quest?
I'm not going to even pretend that I can sing, but I do get your point.
Maybe do a T-Rock dive. You know it could be anywhere. Pull out your hair. It's going to be fine. It could be in vanilla, but probably not. I wish you would just decide. Do you want to do a fetch quest? Doesn't have to be a fetch quest.
Oh man, this is so much fun. I'm gonna take singing lessons just so I can keep up with you, Benteezy.
Oh my goodness. And this could be our progression. This is the most horrible thing ever.
Yeah, fetch quest progression is not what you want to see. We've already seen them do the magic bat check. They're getting, they're doing their fetch quests.
All right, so TZ still holding strong here.
So there's with the iced tea room, and then the first chest on the right side. That's all they can do.
Oh, he's getting ready to do bomb strats across this one. This is one of the more difficult bomb jumps that we have here in this quad red berry room.
Yeah, killing all those jellies is frustrating. Lining this up is difficult. You have to be absolutely on the edge, but he nails it first try. I'm very jealous of Ben because I was actually practicing that specific one right before this race, and I was not getting it on my first try.
And that's it. That's it. He has no keys. I don't know if he can go any further unless he... Oh, he has the iced tea room left.
Yeah.
But man, he's got to double route it. Meanwhile, Kostler is going to do it this way, so he's going to get out to the iced tea room a little bit faster, but he's going to have more checks to do, and
it's horrible, but at least they're both doing it. This is not the type of race where I would expect it to be like a minute apart at the end with so many potential divergences and sequence breaks, but they're essentially 30 seconds apart.
Yeah, I mean, these two are just so close through it all. Despite everything, I mean, they've checked everything. Yeah, just a compass in the ice sheet. Shovel!
Shovel is our progression, or swamp.
Ladies and gentlemen in the randomizer chat, I would just like to point out a little fact to make us all a little bit happier. Because Benteezy and mkosler are playing this seed, we don't have to.
Yes, thank you for that, Benteezy. I appreciate that. This seed will be permanently made unavailable for public use as a service to the community.
So Kostler gets the shovel, and okay, he's first out. I think he's going to go down there. I mean, he's going to go in there from the Dark World so that in case he has to go to Pod or go to Swamp, it's right there.
Yeah, I guess that can... Well, that makes sense if he also has to check the K45 here. It's such a quick run from Link's house that I don't know if coming here in the Dark World is absolutely faster, because it could be something like the lamp, which just leads you back to other places you've been.
The flute! Which, oh god.
Well, that's actually good, because that's going to open up our third pendant location, which is exactly what the runners wanted.
Okay, so that, I mean, yeah, that, if he saved equipment, he probably could have just dashed up there anyway.
Do you have another song for us, Vitasia?
No, I don't. I mean, I have another song, possibly in very specific circumstances, but not yet. So Vanilla Flute.
That's Dr. Bob's thing, isn't it? The flute?
Yeah, I believe there was another runner who started it, and then Dr. Bob just kind of took it and ran with it. So I think it was Zelda actually, I think, who started it. So I want to give proper shout-outs there.
Shout-outs, blame, whatever.
It's your fault.
Yep,
So these guys are both getting their flute activated at the same time. Kostler, I gotta imagine, going down. We have Mire Shed, we have Checkerboard Cave we can check, and then Desert Palace, which, by the way, well, it can't be boots locked at very least, but we still can't beat Desert Palace because we still don't have a fire source.
But three more easy locations that they can pick up. You know that they can. I think they can get the mire. It might have been ether. It was pretty quick. They can get at least one item in desert.
Chat is saying it looks like it was Quake in Mire.
Of course it is.
And of course, nothing so. Hey, Desert Palace. Firelock Desert Palace is our play. This is going to be a seed that Benteezy and mkosler tell their children about in wartime stories.
Well, at least this is going to be a quick check. We're gonna find the the lamp or a fire source here, or we're gonna find the progression that we need, like the hammer, to get somewhere else. Ben showing us that there's apparently a ferry over there that I never knew about, so that's comes in handy.
I'll be honest, when I first got into Rando, I did not know all of the treasure chest locations, so I checked that frequently, and it's like, oh yeah, right, that's just a ferry.
Yeah, that's actually something you can get from watching some of the newer runners. Ice rod.
Oh no. I mean, not what we're looking for. Absolutely not what we're looking for.
That on the other hand.
I'll take that. Okay, so that makes what's that make? Okay, we have hammer pegs, and that makes Swamp Palace slightly more palatable. More importantly, though, that is our access to all of Eastern Death Mountain.
That just opened up, and I'm not even exaggerating here, more than 40 item checks they can do. All of Eastern Death Mountain here, light and dark, is obviously going to be their first check. It opened up locations in Swamp Palace. They can finish Ice Palace. They might be able to get into Turtle Rock. I can't believe it was that hard to find the hammer.
Oh, I can absolutely believe it was that hard to find the hammer.
It was Ice Palace for shovel, for flute, for desert, for hammer, for Dark Mountain. I mean, that's a fire rod is up on the floating island.
Of course it is. Still no hookshot. I mean, we can get into Hookshot Cave, so I'm sure we'll be making that dip. So one more thing. So this seed went from extremely linear and pulling these guys which ways. And there's the hookshot. Are we in go mode yet? I mean, come on.
Give it a few minutes. We need Quake still. Ice Rod. Yeah, so the Ice Rod and Hammer and Flute are obvious ones. Fire Rod and Hookshot now, so yeah, we're pretty close. A Quake away. Oh, that's amazing. And then there's Quake. Oh my god.
Really? So fire rod, yeah, that's go mode, guys.
And red mail, just to rub it in. So they got flute, hammer, both rods, hookshot, logically the bow at the same time, all within like 3 minutes.
Yeah. So Kostler is going to go over open Turtle Rock. We'll see what this is going to be our first look into Turtle Rock to see if we can even open it right now or not. Might as well. I mean, why not? And of course, you might as well go ahead and check these other treasure chests. Oh, it's Quake as well. Oh, but he has Quake, right? I mean, you still probably want one more sword because, and it's worth noting, logically, we still need Lamp.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if Lamp's hiding out there in Swamp Palace as the first accessible item.
All right, so Kostler is. Oh, Kostler's going to go over here and finish with his fire rod in tow. He's going to go over here and finish Tower of Hera. My apologies.
Yeah, picking up a crystal now that you have that at least one of the fire sources.
Yeah, I am a little bit confused because he's skipping Hookshot Cave, at least for now, which, I mean, when you have everything logically, I get, but man, Tempered Sword would be nice.
Well, I mean, Master Sword is all they need to complete the game. So, you know, we call go mode, and you know, that is a valid call. Any sword upgrade is definitely going to be nice, and there are lots of chests in their immediate route. So there's plenty of places they'll check, but I don't expect them to go too far out of their way.
Probably not, and it's also worth noting, I'm not entirely sure. We've seen both of these runners go ahead and do the Dark Rooms and Palace of Darkness up to this point in time, but there's a very dangerous Misery Mire Dark Room that might be a little bit difficult. Benteezy picking up another heart container, the best cane of Berna, and finally the book. I mean, luckily he's in go mode, so he'll be fine without checking any of the book locations.
Yeah, I definitely bet they would have liked to have had the book a little earlier, especially doing all of those pendant dungeon dives, knowing if they had to full clear it or go back once they got the bow. But yeah, finding it in go mode is probably the best thing they could hope for at this point.
So really, the only requirement, this could have been if you can imagine it, these guys wasted a lot of time in this seed doing a lot of checks that maybe they didn't necessarily need to. Really, it was if at 20 minutes in, you made your Ice Palace check, got the shovel and went, and then immediately went up to Death Mountain following the flute, you'd be in go mode probably like around 35-40 minutes.
Yeah, but who's gonna make an Ice Palace play 20 minutes in?
People who are 4-0.
Apparently not. At least not in this particular seed. But you're absolutely right. It's it's amazing to find where the progression was locked, and both of them. It's really unfortunate how inconvenient it was, but we saw both of them take essentially the exact same routes. So even though it was a massive waste of time, they both ended up doing it. So didn't really give anyone a lead.
All right, so both these runners are now in Turtle Rock. I think Kostler has done his best to skip. I didn't see if he actually went back to Hookshot Cave. I was paying attention to a couple other things. Teezy is also in Turtle Rock. And we do have a question in chat, and I have to remember, we do have some new folks in chat in this tournament. Go mode. Textbook definition, go mode is when you have everything that you need to possibly complete the dungeon, complete all 7 crystal dungeons and Aghanim's Tower in order to defeat Ganon. Now, based on what the crystals are, that may require different things for each game because it's randomizer and you never know.
Yeah, chat making an interesting point, pointing out that Palace of Darkness was required, and I guess they're saying that because that's where the sword upgrade was. If we find another sword upgrade, though, then that puts them back in logic without having required pod. So pod still could have been optional. You can get all the way up to Ganon with the fighter sword.
Yeah, you just can't actually damage Ganon at all. That's the only time. I mean, Fighter Sword, yeah, we're not even going to talk about Fighter Sword Ganon because you can't do it. But even Master Sword Ganon is not fun.
Master Sword Ganon is definitely not fun, but with the silver arrows, it's half as less fun.
I mean, Master Sword Silverless is probably the worst fight in the entire game. Okay, it's in the top 5 worst fights in the entire game. It is effectively the same as any other Silverless, just much, much longer.
It's definitely the longest boss fight in the game.
Oh yeah, quite easily.
So I'm trying to think about what I would consider to be the hardest Master Sword fight. Master Sword Cold Stare is pretty hard if you don't have any magic.
Well, let's just take Master Sword out of it. What would be the hardest?
I meant Fighter
fight,
Sword.
yeah.
I meant Fighter Sword Vitreous is not fun. I haven't used bomb strats.
Fighter Sword Vitreous is pretty bad. Bombs Land Molus, not fun. Yes, logically, the game can require you to do bombs only Land Molus.
Can it actually? Because you're guaranteed, in standard mode anyway, you're guaranteed at least one weapon. So you have at least something other than bombs.
Can, yes. And I've done a bombs Keen of Burna Land Molus only. By logic, it was horrible.
I've seen bombs and cane, both of the canes. I've seen bombs and ice rods. None of those are fun.
No. Really, when you're doing anything swordless, it's not fun. Meanwhile, Benteezy does end up taking out Trinex. Neither of these runners really dipped the laser bridge, so I think they're both comfortable with their loadouts right now.
Yeah, I think at this point we are never going to know where that lamp was unless one of the players goes and does a post-game lamp hunt for us.
Well, they're going to have to try to figure out. I mean, lampless Meyer, still not great.
The modern darkroom definitely can be difficult, but I would expect at this point that they'll make the attempt rather than specifically look for the lamp. I think I've seen them do that before.
All right, so Benteezy, and at this point in time, when we're in go mode at 115, this is where it becomes kind of an execution race, where it comes down to we're no longer running around searching for items. We're in go mode. It's going to be as fast as you can. Benteezy has a little bit of an edge, although worth noting that mkosler did go ahead and defeat Tower of Hera while he was up here, so he does have kind of a 1 crystal lead at this point in time. This might be super, super close here.
Tower of Hera is an excellent dungeon to save for last, because you literally walk out of the dungeon and you are at Ganon's Tower. So not going to be a huge time loss to go mode that one. So I like we're seeing a little bit of go mode divergence. Unfortunately, we were kind of forced into having both of these players sync up. Ben's going back to ice, and mkosler is finishing up skull. So we're seeing a nice little bit of divergence after they both finished Turtle Rock. We'll probably find a few items in Swamp Palace, given how convenient it is to check those locations. And Misery Mire, you may have to do a full clear of the dungeon just to find the big key. So it's possible we'll see at least one item in that dungeon as well.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, it'll be really interesting, and I think these guys are both hoping for a sword of some sort, I think. But other than that, I think these guys, you don't get 4-0 unless you're good at this game and can do bosses in certain unexpected ways that you maybe aren't, at maximum, like butter sword, red mail, 3 bottles, etc.
Yeah, these are fights that both of these runners, I know, I bet Ben, I didn't see his bio, but I believe he does a lot of NMG stuff. I know mkosler, he said his time's around 137, which is a very decent NMG time. That tells you that they're used to playing the entire game in green mail. So the fact that they have red mail gives them essentially quadruple, 40 plus hearts equivalent. So they're definitely comfortable on health.
So Mothula down, Cold Stare down. These guys, this is just kind of a title fight here. Who can get all the crystals down first?
Yeah, it's going to be really tough to call this, at least for another 15 minutes or so, until we see how it converges a bit. I don't mean call who's winning. I mean, like, to say who's in the lead is just...
Yeah, it's still kind of nebulous, although they're both going into Misery Mire, looks like, here, right about the same time. So we might get a sense for who might have some better efficiencies in terms of just routing and the little things.
Ben being very careful there to kill that Murderodactyl. Using Quake, he will continue to take damage, which just should not be allowed. You want to be going into this dungeon with full health for this Mire 2 room. sword beams makes a lot of difference here.
Oh, absolutely. Whiz robes, are paper cannons. They hit kind of hard, but man, they just a fighter sword or a sword beam and they're done. One hitter quitter.
So it looks like we're not seeing anything fancy here, just the standard Mire route, most efficient way you can find the big key possible. But that's all they're looking for is just the big key. Once they find it, they are going straight to Vitreous. And with silver arrows, they do not even have to worry about their sword disadvantage. Great place to find it.
That's about the best place that you possibly want to find that. Maybe a little sad that you don't get to search a few more treasures locations, maybe, but hey, if it's going to give it to you, might as well give it to you.
Absolutely, and this dungeon was logically able to have the lamp in order to complete the basement dark rooms, but both runners not having the lamp and going directly for that dark room, we'll see if either of them has any issues here. As Benteezy said, this is one of the more difficult rooms to do.
I would go so far, and Kostler, I think, gets out of the tough one, that switch room. Benteezy, we'll see if he can get the setup going there, too. Definitely
a nice room to have that red mail in. You can take a few hits from those fireballs. Benteezy, he gets to, I think, his first try.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely amazing. What both of these runners are doing right now. It's like they don't. It's like they have the lamp. They know exactly what they're doing. This is really how you want to be able to do dark rooms. So the fact that lamp was their quote unquote go mode item and they can effectively skip it, it's really very nice for both these runners. Meanwhile, Kostler is already on Vitreous. He gets to do Silver's Vitreous, which is a pretty nice fight. Benteezy is going to do it as well, and it's fast.
Even without the silvers, this is definitely a doable fight. The cape and master sword strats with half magic make this a pretty simple fight as well. So surprisingly, they do have quite a few options here, but silver's the fastest one of what they have. So it's nice to see the bottom row of the tracker there start to get filled out as the crystal dungeons start to get completed.
A little bit, yeah. So let's see where it looks like Kostler's going to be diving into Swamp next. We'll see where Benteezy still has Swamp, and he's going to go Skull Woods, actually.
Yeah, I don't think that there's really any item they could pick up in any of these dungeons that would make the other ones easier. So, and none of these locations really lead into each other, given the fact that they have the flute at this point. So the order really doesn't matter. It's just whatever they prefer.
Yeah, it's just who can get there and get it all done the most efficient. And that's what it really comes down to at this point. So Kostler is going to be the only one diving into something we have not yet seen, and Swamp. And this is going to go a little bit fast, I think.
Unfortunately, Kostler is not going to be checking this second location in Swamp, which is one of the early locations that they had access to that we thought had a good chance of holding the lamp. Really would have been nice to just see what this is, satisfy commentator and viewer curiosity, even though they don't need the progression.
Sometimes I kind of wish they would give us the spoiler log, just so we can be like, oh, they gotta be making this play over here, but no, they're not ever going to do that because that would be too good for us.
I want to know why only sometimes you feel that way.
That's probably a fair point. I always feel that way, but I only sometimes think about it.
Yeah, I like not having a spoiler log simply because the engagement, the asking the questions, trying to figure things out, makes it fun. But it would be nice to have it during the interviews, I think.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So Mathia not giving Ben any favorable positioning there, getting bounced around quite a bit, but when you have red mail, you can just get in close, body him. Mafia does less damage than the spikes do when you have red mail, so you can just plow through it.
All right, so mkosler is going to be directly fighting his sixth boss. Oh no. Okay. So we're almost there. We're almost at kind of the fateful 7 crystal dive.
Kostler giving us one. Oh, wow!
That was an amazing tempered sword!
That is the best place that could have been, because that is the only chest that they were going to check in that dungeon.
That is an amazing tempered sword right there. They're set. No moss. Don't even bother checking anything else.
Hopefully Ben will check that. He might just be feeling super behind and not even wanting to spend 2 seconds on that chest. It's not an absolute game changer, but it does make a big difference.
It does. It makes a huge difference at this point. And see, at this point in time, we really don't know who's ahead. Benteezy is just now starting Swamp Palace. Kostler is getting to the end of Swamp Palace. He will only have a Go Mode Ice Palace to finish off. TZ will have this, but then he'll have Tower of Hera, which is left. It's like, oh my god! So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, of course. No, please finish.
So I want to remind everyone, these are rules for the Ganon's Tower Big Key game that don't come up terribly frequently. And I think we need to review these rules a little bit as we get in preparation for this Ganon Tower Big Key guessing game. If both runners are simultaneously looking for the key, the first one to get, and I think this is open to interpretation, so Tiru, you and I can decide this now.
All right.
It's either the first one into Ganon's Tower or the first one with 7 crystals. Like, that's the screen that we count on. We don't jump back and forth like if they do a right-left divergence. It's nothing like that.
Well, Fees will chime in on first one in.
Okay, so we'll do that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, this isn't really the type of thing that ends up in the tournament rules per se, the big chess guessing game, but I do think first one in is historically what I've seen.
Okay, so first one in, and we'll be following their screen. So even if Kostler or TZ or whoever comes in second, if it's seconds and there's a right-left divergence, first one in, that's where we're counting from. So we got that to deal with. We're going to try to start it. If TZ is the one for whatever reason, and it's quick 5 seconds, we'll try to start it a little bit early to give you guys a little bit of time here.
Yeah, if it's TZ, we're gonna have to start it, halfway through Hera, because you have a few seconds after you complete Hera before you enter the dungeon. But I think it's going to be Kostler finishing up Ice Palace will be the one to start it.
Well, he's got to finish up Ice Palace, but then he's going to have to climb, which is going to be interesting. Remember, we're talking about a big key guessing game. Just remember, to qualify for our leaderboard, you do have to be a subscriber to any of the Speed Gaming Network channels 1 through 6, or have donated at least 250 bits. So if you have not subscribed or done your bit donations and you want to join this, now's the time to do it. TZ, those are poke strats that TZ was doing.
He's doing the quick Argus kill there. He got about 2/3 of the puffs done and finishes them off with a silver arrow.
Oh, that's big for TZ. That saves him a lot of time.
So he's going to be making his climb up to the Dark World, probably going through the standard Turtle Rock portal, and then mirroring right in front of Tower Hera. Even though the bot that we use for the guessing game is going to be based off the first person who goes into the dungeon, we can still start it when the first person gets their 7th crystal.
Man, it is. I mean, this is. There are various inappropriate slang terms to use exactly how tight this race is. So we'll just say, and suffice to say, it's a tight race. These guys are just neck and neck.
Yeah, Ben's already halfway up the tower. Still has to complete Hera. mkosler doesn't have to complete Hera, but has the tower climb. And Hera is not a long dungeon to complete.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, mkosler is the first one with 7 crystals. He will begin his ascent up Death Mountain to Ganon's Tower, and you know what time that is. There are 22 treasure chests in Ganon's Tower that can possibly contain the Ganon's Tower Big Key. If you are either a subscriber to any of the Speed Gaming network of channels or have donated at least 250 bits across all the channels, you can be entered for a leaderboard. Get your guesses into chat, 1 through 22. What's it going to be? Tiru, sir, what's going to be your guess?
Well, today I'm going to go with one of the Ice Armor's chests, because I kind of wanted to balance out whether you go full left or full right. I want you both to get there about the same time. How about you?
My standard policy is to keep guessing the same number until I get it. So I'm right now on 8. So I cannot get off 8 until I actually win 1.
Well, in a randomized game, picking a number and sticking with it is as good a strategy as any. So
but I like your idea, though, and saying, okay, it's got to be perfectly balanced. And Kostler didn't even check Super Bunny Cave. He's like, I know, I see open treasure chests, I'm going.
Yeah, unfortunately, I forgot that Ben had to go through the basement room here, which definitely is a time sink you do not want to be at this particular point. So mkosler will be the first person to enter the tower. And we will be using his chest order for the game results. Typically, I do pick randomizer room. I always say I pick randomizer room because I've been playing this game since 1991, and I didn't know it was there until 6 months ago. But today, I'm kind of in the mood for the Ice Armos.
You realize that it's going to be in the randomizer room now, just because you said that, right?
Well, it's been in the randomizer room a few times where I've said that, so I'm not still waiting on my 1 win like you are. So that's the key. You're picking number 8, but I'm giving myself 4 options by picking a whole entire room.
That's fair. And it does look like we got 1 key, so Kostler is going to do a full right side gamble.
Or at least most are right side.
I mean,
might not go to Ice Armors. A lot of people don't like to do it.
Well, and the Ice Armos is one of those. There's a lot of nothing in between these last 6 chests and Ice Armos, so a lot of people end up like just skipping it and going right over to the left side once they get these first 6.
3 and 4 are red. 3, 4, and 5 are red rupees, and 6 is the map.
I was gonna say we're getting close to a straight here.
Indeed, we are. So picking up that safety small key and doing the left side now. Coming up on the torch, which will be item location number 7.
7 is just a 10 bomb upgrade, so Bob lives to see another day. Meanwhile, we're going to do a check this left side here.
So for chest number 8, we have a small key. 9 has the compass. 10 gives us the ever so valuable 19th red rupee, and 12 is, of course, a red rupee.
More red rupes, and Teezy is now opening, and we'll see if he does the right-left gamble as well, see if he can make up a little bit of time. Oh man, this is so close here between these two. I love seeing two runners, and he is going left side.
I think that one was actually 12, the net. Somebody, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm horrible at guessing, tracking these.
Kosler with the amazing blue boomerang strats there. Very nicely done.
I love that blue boomerang strat. That's one of my favorite swag moves you can do. So, heart piece for 13.
Oh, and Teezy is going. He opted to do get those first four over there, and then is going right side now.
That's unfortunate. Looked like he was going to save a little bit of time by skipping right side, but 15, 16, 17, 18, another red rupee.
That was 17. Yeah.
19, 20, 21 are coming up, and then 22 is top room, I think.
18, 19, and 20. 18, 19, 20, and 21 are coming up because we have Bob's chest as well.
Yes, this is why I'm so horrible at doing this.
I'm bad too. Just ask chat. They know. And we see our mascot, the glitched out anti-fairy Bob, getting poofed. And there it is. Number 18.
It's always Bob's chests when Dr. Bobtastic isn't commentating.
It is 18. So the correct answer, McLagan. GG McLagan for your guess on 18.
I think that puts Ben probably about 2.5 minutes or so behind at this point, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's still completely, you can make it up with some real solid execution, but you also have to hope that your opponent makes at least a couple small mistakes. And here's the problem. When your opponent is also 4-0, not a lot of mistakes to be had.
Yeah, that's the pro and cons with the Swiss tournaments. You know, at week 5, you're going against somebody who's basically your doppelganger, and we're seeing very good execution from both players. It's gonna be tough to make up a 2.5 minute gap. Unfortunately, you never wish ill on somebody, but it's less about one person executing well and the other person making mistakes.
All right, so Kostler getting ready to start his Landmo 2 fight, not even stopping for safeties. Man, he's in this. He's in it to win it.
He had a very, very fast and efficient gauntlet. Missing one of the Landmos, but gonna pick it up on the second cycle, making use of those silver arrows.
You know, I will say this much. I have not seen a ton of Kostler through the tournament or even prior, but this is someone I'm going to have to pay attention to later. He's had a just absolutely great execution going through here. I've been super impressed with his run so far.
I think the most surprising thing about this particular race was just how much we saw the runners do essentially the same thing, specifically including how many sequence breaks were involved. both going to Dark World 10 minutes in, both sequence breaking pod and Eastern Dark Rooms. I would not have expected it to be this similar. Their item counts are probably going to be within a couple of each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think Benteezy is going to have a few more because he did do things. He checked the rest of Dark Death Mountain. Kostler skipped it, and then he's had to do more of these checks throughout Ganon's Tower. So we may see Teezy with like 10 more checks, but that's it. That's still really, really close, all things said. But yeah, if you look back at it, it felt like a linear seed only because they kept on doing the same things. It pulled them in crazy directions.
Absolutely. They ended up choosing to sequence break rather than to follow the logic. A lot of times you can end up saving a lot of time by doing dark rooms and fake flippering and things like that. And in this case, it was the complete opposite. If they had followed strictly the logic, they would have saved much time.
And that's what you get with rando sometimes, though.
Yeah, I mean, they could have avoided Eastern and Pod altogether by just not even going there. They would have had Master Sword at this point, but it still would have been within logic.
Oh, Kostler with a nice double there with a very rude Aga setup. We'll see what else happens here.
Nice stop ball. A little difficult in that second position, but the third one's lining up very nice. And gets a triple.
2-1-3. That was a very nice Aga fight. So mkosler is going to be the first one over here to battle our blue bacon himself. He's got tempered, he's got red mail. I don't know how many safeties he has, but based on everything and his play so far, I don't think he's going to need them. Man, this is going to be a close race, though.
I think he purchased a green potion at one point in time, and I don't know what potions they acquired as part of their items, but regardless, I don't think he's going to need any of the safeties. So, I mean, this is where Tempered Sword, really makes the difference. 12 slashes instead of 12 spins in each of these first two phases. Phase 3 and 4, it doesn't really save you any time in silvers, but in these first two phases, significant savings.
He does take a couple fire bat hits, but he does get to phase 3 right away. Teezy takes a fall on Moldorm, though.
Yeah, Moldorm 2 is never fun. So only one fall and recovered well. Kostler gets a double on his first silver arrow rounds. Unfortunately, only going to be able to pick up a single on that second cycle. But that is more than enough to get him the win.
And GG mkosler, our first runner to 5-0, going to be a qualifier for the 128 seed. GG mkosler.
Wow, what a fight, what a close fight. And Ben also having an amazing Aga 2 and making his way on the Ganon. We will be able to get both of these runners in for interviews at the same time, right after Ben's Ganon fight.
All right, Kostler going to be setting up his mic, so he'll be joining us before too long. Yeah, this has been an absolutely amazing race. I don't think either runner has anything to feel bad about. My God, I mean, they made all the same plays. Who would have guessed dipping there into Ice Palace for the shovel, for the flute, for your progression was the answer? I mean, I certainly didn't.
It was amazing how we had we had early progression, then we had Dark World access, then we had an hour of absolute frustration for both runners, and then we had 3 minutes to go mode.
It is worth noting that we only found that other sword so that that dip into pod ended up being completely beneficial. I mean, they didn't completely waste their time there. If they hadn't found anything else, it would have been Master Sword, and it would have been horrible. But joining us now is mkosler. GG on your win, and the first one to 5-0.
Hey, thanks a lot.
GG, man.
That was that. All the items just sort of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's interesting that both you guys went to had the same early game routing. You did almost everything. I'm not going to say identically. You merged together there in Ice Palace, and then you got sent on a fetch quest, and then you just did everything the same. And then all of a sudden, you guys were in go mode. We're like, well, I guess we can do the other 5 dungeons now.
Right. Yeah. It was just. Yeah. You had you dipped IP to get the shovel to get vanilla flute, and then DP had both ice rod and hammer, and you were like, okay, and then you run up to Death Mountain, and then oh, by the way, here's the rest of the items that you'll need to finish the game. Go finish these dungeons as fast as you can. Yeah, it was just you had GG Benteezy. You dipped IP to get the shovel to get vanilla flute, and then DP had
congratulations,
ice rod and hammer.
Very,
like,
very,
okay,
very close race.
Run up to
a lot of sequence breaks. I was really blown away by going into the Dark World 10 minutes in with so little health. That was a very bold move.
We had Boomerang. It was totally fine.
Indeed.
Yeah, we were kind of doing a little bit of game. It was like, oh, we have Dark World access right away. Is any of them going to go to Dark World? And then you both went to Dark World immediately. We're like, okay then.
Yeah, that Kakariko portal being your only Dark World access for the vast majority of the game made travel difficult, and only I think it's mkosler picking up the mirror and initially made navigation difficult as well. But you guys ultimately ended up being funneled down into very few locations due to the lack of hammer or anything else. I just want to comment that the sequence breaking the entire game and dark rooms was very, very well executed from both of you.
So nobody found the lamp. Okay.
Yeah, nobody found the lamp. We have no idea where the lamp is.
I'm gonna guess it was somewhere in the rest of IP, on the hammer side or something like that, but I don't know.
I got 2 items. The other item was hammer-locked. So I guess it could have been back there, but I doubt it. Swamp had 4 items that I didn't see.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Benteezy, did you pick up the tempered on the waterfall chest?
I did.
Yeah, that was crazy. I go moded basically everything. Yeah, I did Meyer before Swamp Palace, and I was thinking, okay, Meyer's gonna give me an opportunity to open a bunch of different chests, but you had the semi-god Meyer, so you couldn't even do that. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna check this one chest, and then boom, there was the tempered.
I actually left Swamp for last because I was like, if I find tempered on any of the other bosses or something, it'll help with Argus. And then I wound up doing every dungeon without tempered, and tempered being right before Argus. So that was a little frustrating. I think every play I made this seed was numerically the correct play. It just didn't pan out. So I'm not upset with the way I played or that I lost. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2 minutes less than 2 minutes. No, a little bit greater than 2 minutes apart from each other. It seems like we basically did the exact same thing.
If it gives you any indication, we had to stop and check, and Fiesel had to clarify, okay, if one person gets his 7th crystal first, and Kostler, but Teezy ends up having to actually enter Ganon's tower first because his final dungeon was Tower of Hera. Like which screen do we count off of for the big key guessing game? You guys were so close, like start to finish entire race.
Did he not go right side in GT? Like, how did it go from being that close to being 2 minutes apart?
He went. There's a couple things. One, when we were talking about that, we didn't realize you hadn't done the basement of Hera yet, so that was a little bit of time.
Okay.
Also, he went full right side and then went full left side. So when he went back and did Bob, like your routing, I think, started off on the right side. Then you went to the left. Then you bounced back to the right, and it ended up.
No, mine starts on the left.
Left.
You did Dark Magician, Benteezy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did the. I don't know. I guess it's the meta now. You go right if there's a key. Keep going to
it takes
those
the same
4
amount of
chests.
So I want to ask you guys. You did the pod and Eastern dips, both fairly early on. Sequence breaking those dark rooms. When you went up to Death Mountain the first time, that was also a sequence break, not having the lamp, and you guys picked up the bow. Did either of you consider going back and finishing off pod or Eastern, thinking that you would need those pendants or the green pendant or any items left on those bosses?
There was no item on Helmasaur, and Armos' item is locked behind a lamp, so if I never find the lamp, that item doesn't matter.
Yeah, there was no item on Helma, and my thought process was, okay, somebody could have easily gone to Death Mountain first before coming down here, just because it's a little more convenient, because you have to go all the way from Kakariko, run all the way to the other side, and jump across for all that stuff. So I was just saying, okay, I'm just gonna act as if it can't be there, because I'm losing a decent amount of time if I went up to Death Mountain, then went back.
That makes a lot of sense.
I legitimately felt like I had like god tier routing. Like I only made that trip once from the portal to pod. And I literally got everything over there in one trip, just like one full 360 around the map. But of course, the shovel was in the last chest I checked. So
yeah, I got screwed up a little bit because where was Mushroom? I can't remember where Mushroom was, but I hadn't done Sasha or Mushroom.
Thieves Town, I think.
Yeah, it's the first chest of Thieves. It was Mushroom.
Okay.
Then Mirror.
Yeah. I hadn't done Sasha or Mushroom at that point. And so I went over to Sasha, and I was just because you always have Hammer by then, I was thinking, okay, I'll enter the portal on down by pod side. I'll mirror, do all this stuff, and ended up screwing that routing up a little bit. But other than that, I think I did pretty well.
So I got a question for either of you guys. You were at the point where you decided to both go into Ice Palace, trying to find some progression, but Ice was hammerlocked at that time. Did either of you consider going into checking the first Swamp Palace chest as an alternative?
Yeah, that was the only chest I had left after Ice. I was actually gonna dig the shovel up and then go to Swamp. That was the at that point. Well, I think I had bow, so I could have gone and done all that bow stuff. But in logic.
Yeah.
Because those things are like, I could have went and killed Armos in the green pendant, but if I'm down to 1 or 2 locations and the progression has to be at one of those 2 locations,
you
why
want
would
to
I go
stay in
sequence
logic.
break
You don't want to jump
else?
ahead.
Yeah. Like it could have been shovel to lamp, and then I have to go to Armos, but it wasn't, and then I would have wasted my time even more.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a silly seed.
Yeah.
It's definitely one to go back and I think watch a little bit, because it did kind of pull you guys in all sorts of different directions, and then just said, okay, now how fast can you go mode everything?
Yeah, I really dislike seeds that put everything behind one item. Those, 6 items behind the flute? Hammer, ice,
Hammer, ice,
fire, hook, quake.
quake.
So 5 items
Yeah.
behind the hook, behind the flute. So it didn't matter that you did everything else in the game. It was all just a waste of time. Could have just as easily been like an item on catfish or at pod, and then like my routing like works in my favor, but instead it's just detrimental.
Well, when you go back and watch the VOD, looking at the final collection rate here, there's only a 3-item difference in the total. I can only imagine how frustrating it was to go through all of those locations, but ultimately you both ended up making very similar decisions and not really losing too much time over your opponent. So if it wasn't a mistake or it was advantageous, it was at least something that you guys both did.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna rewatch this.
Yeah, I wonder what 3 items those were.
Benteezy, you got any more questions or any other thoughts from the runners?
No, I was just going to ask what any final thoughts from either of you guys on the tournament or the seed or anything else in general.
Just thanks to everybody for doing this. Thanks to the commentators. Thanks to the restreamer. Thanks to the tracker. Super enjoy the time doing this. This is my first tournament. I've only really started doing Randomizer since like January, and even speedrunning Zelda since January. So it's been super fun.
Does my opponent? I don't know how to say your name. Sorry. Do you remember what time you got boots at?
Say that again.
Do you remember what time you got boots?
God, that was so early. I have no idea.
So
I think
early,
he got
like
them
first 30 minutes. So early.
I'm trying to remember where they were.
He did have them
in the Zora area.
He did have them
right.
for
Yeah, I
a
got
lot.
them pretty early because I did the same thing as you. I went immediately to Dark World through the Kakariko portal. Got the flips. I took the Jeremiah or whatever you want to call him on the world tour. Save and quit after Hype Cave into Link's house. Did the flips tour, and that's where I got my boots. And then I didn't. Jeremiah, the blacksmith guy is so weird. Like, he would go with me into the Ice Rod Cave, which technically has 2 entrances, but he yelled at me for trying to take him to see the lumberjack. It was weird.
That is weird, actually, now that you mention it. Yeah, so it was like
Yeah.
about 20 minutes with boots that I didn't have. Because I didn't stop at Hype Cave. I swam and did the Hylia check, and then I did Pod and Sasha, and then I did the Hobo, and then Pyramid, and then Mushroom, and then Catfish. And then I got my boots. So I did 2 dungeons without boots that you didn't. So I think that's the time difference.
Yeah, I think I had boots before I finished any dungeon.
Chat says that it was 19 minutes for mkosler and
Yeah,
38 for Ben.
Yeah, there you go. That's unfortunate. Anyway, still, I don't regret the way I played the game. So, GG's.
GG.
That's Rando. You definitely had to play well to win that seed. So, more credit to you. That seed was killer. Thanks to everybody.
All right, well,
that
I'm gonna.
worked on this.
Sorry.
I was just thanking you guys and the restream and the checkers and everybody.
Well, that's much appreciated. I'm gonna wrap things up here. Congratulations, of course, to both our runners. mkosler proceeding to the 5.0 stage, our first runner to have guaranteed. Our first contestant to have guaranteed progression into the bracket stage. Runner-up Benteezy doing a 4-1 next week, but an excellent runner and just needs 1 more win, 2 more races to go. Very good, odds in his favor. Take a moment, follow both of these runners, mkosler and Benteezy. For more random action, there are 6 channels in speed gaming and 4 ALTTP randomizer channels streaming these tournament matches. We're doing 120, 130 per week. There is rando action every day. I encourage all of the viewers, if you like what you've seen and you haven't yet given this a try for yourself, then jump on in. It's free to play in the truest sense of the word, and it's a lot of fun. There are easier modes, there are more difficult modes, there's plenty of variety, and it is a wonderful, fabulous community of people that will help you get started. And hopefully a lot of you will join us in our fall tournament. Thanks to our tracker, Drazi1, and of course, it's been a true pleasure to co-commentate with the legendary Benteezy.
Oh no, you're too kind. Too kind. Tiru, you've been an amazing co-commentator with me. I hope we get to do this again sometime.
Absolutely. That is it from me. I'm Tiru, and you guys all have a nice evening.
Peace.